What's up? What's up? What's up? Thumbs up in the chat. I felt like I would check in. This is Mike D here. Happy Friday to everybody. I know that we're going to be doing our full review on Monday at noon. Hope y'all had a great time with the listening party or the streaming party that we did last night for Magic 2. Shout out to everybody out there. I figured that this needed to be covered because I don't want this to get, lost in the sauce. I'm going to give people some time to get in the room. I know we got a couple of people in here right now. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. I know it's an odd time, 12:30 Eastern Standard Time on a Friday. And if you're catching this after the fact, that's cool too. Shout out to everybody coming in. Have y'all heard Magic 2 yet? We heard it together last night. Many of y'all were probably in the station head last night. It was dope. It was a great time. We had a whole bunch of folks up in there, man. I think it was like 400 people plus in the station head room. Yeah, shout out to everybody coming in. What up, Miss LB? What up? Yeah, man, I figured this needed to be addressed because, the wonderful thing about the internet is the fact that we have timestamps on when everybody said everything. But the other thing about the internet is people can clearly go back and erase some things. So I want to make sure that this is talked about and this is documented, as it's going on. So what Rolling Stone did yesterday was very interesting in the fact that we've been talking about this on this show since day one. I think for me, it was kind of eye-opening to see the media skew on, Nas and his career, one of our hip-hop legends. They've done it again, I guess, with the reaction from the people. This is the chronological order. Let me say it like this. So the whole KD series, Nas hooking up with Hit Boy. What's up, everybody? Nas hooking up with Hit Boy. KD won. Boom. Came out of nowhere. I think people thought it was going to be a one-off thing. KD1 was very important in a sense where it kind of showed where everybody was really at. And that's where I'm about to go with this Rolling Stone review. Then KD2 came, and it was less fanfare from some of the mainstream, components or machines that were actually supporting the previous one. And then Magic came, and it was totally ignored. To a degree, I feel like KD3 was somewhat ignored as well. And then the fans then got on the bumper of these major publications and these mainstream journalists to the point where for the release of Magic 2, everybody seems to be changing their tone. This is what kind of stood out to me yesterday when Rolling Stone posted this article that I read, and I'm not going to go through this new article on here because it's really a bunch of fluff. They really didn't even, the album wasn't out yet. But this was kind of one of those, let me, retrace my steps because I know some of the things I did, meaning Rolling Stone, was a little off code. But anyway, Rolling Stone posted an article yesterday saying, with his 5th album in 3 years, Nas is making a strong case for rap's greatest of all time. And the article itself is more so just talking about MCs from that age bracket that are still active and that are making kind of grown man rap in a youthful climate. They glossed over KD1 and some of the things that they said about KD1 in this particular article, but they gave KD1 high praise for, getting a Grammy for Nas, right? What I want to do, because it's only 2023. I know with 5 albums, it seems like a long time, but King's Disease just came out in 2020. So it was only 3 years ago. This is the article that Rolling Stone put out as a review for King's Disease 1. Here it is right here, guys. Shout out to everybody in the room. Thumbs up in the chat. And, if you're not liking and subscribed already and part of this, hip-hop movement with According to Hip Hop, please hit like and subscribe so you can officially be a part of the movement and know when we go live and just do pop-ups like this. So here it is. Hopefully I don't get too many pop-ups from the website or whatever, but everybody see everything on the screen? This is Rolling Stone's article, and I wanted you guys to see this. This ain't just me talking or us coming up with some conjecture. Nas's King's Disease gets derailed by petty misogyny. This is the title of the review, first of all. Rolling Stone. Nas's King's Disease gets derailed by petty misogyny. The Queensbridge icon's legendary storytelling chops are undercut by his increasingly bad politics on his first album in 8 years, which was a misnomer as well because he did put out Nasir in 2018. If you want to count, Lost Tapes 2, that's whatever, but Nasir is an album. Danny Schwartz wrote this. And let's see. Oh, I think they took my ability to read the full article. Oh, dag. I just had it here. That's crazy how that changed. Petty misogyny. Let me see if I got it somewhere else, because I also have it pulled up here. Let's see if they took my ability to read the whole thing. See, now I got to get a whole subscription or whatever. Okay, no. I got it here. I'll just keep this on the screen. I'm glad I got 2 screens, right? Anyway, you can look it up for yourself. I think if you log in a couple of different times, they'll take your ability to read the full article. Anyway, it says, on his 1994 coming-of-age masterpiece, Illmatic, Nas rendered the sprawling Queensbridge houses and the thrills and despair of young black life in Dinkins-era New York City. With the detail and scale of Bosch's garden of earthly delight, he never comes close to making another Illmatic, but he's still mining the album's rich source of material 26 years later. The high points on King's Disease, Nas's first full-length album since 2012, are the songs when he revisits his formative experiences in the late 80s and early to mid-90s. Snapshots from his teenage years still come to him easily, and his lucid storytelling unspoons in quarter verses of Veganets. The opening lines of Blue Benz recalled the icon's opening scenes in Belly. I used to be in the tunnel, 20 deep in the huddle, razors on us that'll make your skin bubble. Moet we guzzle, Chris Lighty let me in a few times, nines on car 85. The car service preferred by Hustler Nas's generation inspires a summertime cruise down memory lane. That's NY, White Castle at midnight, fish sandwich, 40 ounce, and fist fights. Hit Boy's production on the album, which definitely weaves haze horns, filters soul samples, mute drums, and a lot of piano. It's particularly amped backdrop during these moments of nostalgia revere. Okay, it really didn't say much on that part. Nas's Black Pride and Righteous Anger. Well, you know what? I want to go back. From everything you heard there, where's the misogyny? And to even put a title up here to even say Nas's King's Disease gets derailed by petty misogyny, wouldn't you think you would open up with some sort of proof of that? But anyway, I think it might be taking away my ability to, here we go. All right. Nas's Black Pride and Righteous Anger, which animates much of King's Disease, resonates the most when he draws lines between his present and pre-fame past. By touching on the infamous 1994 crime bill that cast young black men as super predators and emotional trauma success can't fix, corner executives born in the ghetto hell where metal yell, and the 2020 death of King Shooter, the 27-year-old Queensbridge rapper who had been signed to his label. He retraces his bleak worldview. Post George Floyd, the Devil's Lasso is a flat circle. Okay, again, where's the other stuff coming from? King's Disease sometimes doubles as Nas' advanced column and the nuggets of the OG wisdom he attempts to dispense very widely in quality. For every pearl, there's a turd. For every pearl, there's a turd. This is the writer saying this, by the way. There's no quotes or anything. For every pearl, there's a turd. I guess he's talking about for every decent line or good song on this album, there's some shit in a bad way. Several turds arise when Nas treats multi-syllabic rhymes as his own end. The stupidest part of Africa produced blacks who started algebra, he contends in the title track on 10 Points. The impulsive to advise street dudes leads him into a bland pasture. Get a lawyer, read your contract, and eat food. The biggest and most immovable turd, oh my goodness, the biggest and most immovable turd of all on Nas's petty misogyny, while he spends the biggest and most immovable turd of all is Nas's petty misogyny, where he spends much of King's Disease dollying out name checks to men of all stripes, billionaires, record execs, dance hall pioneers, basketball players, Beatles, his boxing coach, his boys. He spends an equal amount of time wishing women would stay in their place. He takes cheap shots at Doja Cat, a woman he may or may not know. His indignation rises to a fever pitch of definition when he arrives on the topic of Gayle King, the TV journalist who brought up Kobe Bryant's rape allegations on the day of his death. Replace me and all bad. Generic reflections on failed romances appear as a calculated addition to the track list, designed to show that he has had normal relationships in light of allegations of domestic abuse with his ex-wife, Khalees, aired against him in 2018. What does this have to do with anything? And again, for him to actually name drop executives, ball players, the Beatles, or whatever, and call out Doja Cat for something she said at the time, or call out Gayle King for something she did at the time, I don't think that really qualifies as misogyny, in my personal opinion. And again, with this whole thing of them bringing up the domestic allegations, that has nothing to do with the album. That wasn't referenced on the album. Khalees wasn't referenced on the album. I don't understand where that even comes from. Again, when there's no real reference to that in the music, and this is an album review, by the way. This isn't just some opinion piece. It's slander, At least that's the way I see it. You guys can have your own opinion on that. But anyway, he goes further on. Nas has vehemently denied Khalees' allegations, as well as those made by his ex, Carmen Bryant, who wrote of their relationship in 2006. Again, I don't know what Carmen has to do with any of this. This is the album review for King's Disease 1 in 2020, where none of this stuff was mentioned. But anyway, they're quoting Carmen from her book. And for people who don't know, that's Destiny's mother, Nas's daughter. The next thing I knew, I was being hit in the face with a closed fist. The impact of the blow was so fierce that I saw stars. Now, they're talking about this in an album review. 2020 for King's Disease 1. This is the same publication that's trying to rewrite their own words 3 years later. They actually owe Nas an apology for this blasphemous review. They go on to say, on King's Disease, he doubles down on these denials and advances a bizarre sense of male victimhood. It says less than a minute into the album, he goes off on cancel culture and takes aim at Khalees, whom he believes fabricated her story of abuse out of spite. On To the War Is Won, a performance tribute to black women, he devours, coward men that were beating on you, then mutter as a side, never me. Whether Nas doth protest too much is up for debate. Either way, he clearly feels sorry for himself. He also apparently does not see the irony of the claims of some women want to slump him. Listen, to make a blanket statement about coward men beating on women and him saying never me is not a slander to any women in his past. I don't understand how that can be twisted as misogyny. I don't understand that. For him to stand up for women, at that point you're standing up for women, and then now they want to flip that as you are downing women from your past, like that's just a stretch. I'm sorry. And I think culturally, the writer of this article is way out of line for even pulling that one line out of this full album with so many lyrics on it and using that to twist it for their own narrative. He also says, at its best, and you know what, and then you know what, on top of that, for him to say that King's Disease is a petty misogynistic album based on him pulling out those individual lines that are so blanket and so broad and twisted in their own way, that is slander. Come on. And then it goes on to say, at its best, King's Disease is a slick, Illmatic redux, a fresh portrait of Nas' now mythical hustler years that expand his Queensbridge universe with new characters and finds him in a vintage form as a rapper and a storyteller. At worst, it is a misguided attempt to paper over abuse allegations and a stark showcase of his increasingly questionable politics when it comes to women. 26 years after Illmatic, Nas still has room to grow. This is what they said in 2020. And that, first of all, that is a terrible album review because it's not an album review. This is a review on the individual and some, stuff that is said in the tabloids. They want to come back 3 years later after the run has been what it is. And clearly the artist has overcome any and everything that was being thrown at him. Now you want to come back with an article saying with his fifth album in 3 years, Nas makes a strong case for rap's greatest of all time. Strong case. That's the part that shows that they haven't changed their spots either. Rolling Stone needs to give this man and hip hop culture a straight up apology because that's just straight up whack, man. And then to even say, like I said, to put a strong case there based on what these guys have done and what he's done lyrically over the past 3 years and the past 30 years, it's like, you know what? They're saying, okay, we'll give his fans some sort of grace, but all in all, we're still sticking with what we're saying. And I'm going to believe that until they go out there and give this man an apology for that bogus review for King's Disease 1 because they didn't even review the album. Sounds like they used that as an opportunity to denigrate the man, which is very unfair. Again, everybody has their sides to whatever story, and there's a time and a place for that. But an album review is not the time to go out there and pull out lines and throw them all around and make them mean whatever you want them to mean to the level where you title the article or the album review, Nas's King's Disease gets derailed by petty misogyny. Like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's because when I read that initially, I was like, yeah, I didn't get that from the album. What is that even for? That's to mislead the reader and the listener. So now people who haven't heard the album at that time, and that might have been their first window into, what the album may consist of, they're going in there with ears thinking like, yo, where's that line at? I'm looking for the misogyny now. Like, come on, man. Can't do that. That's bad journalism. And, we got to call that out. And unfortunately, it comes across like, oh, you guys are caping for Nas, this, that, and the third. No. Whatever happened. I have no idea what happened. But one thing I do know as a journalist, to go out there and pull lines and take them out of context and then even make them the title for your album review, just to go out there and denigrate the man, it's unprofessional. It's clearly agenda-based, and it's like, who sent you? Like, why is it that important for you to do that for an album that didn't even deserve that? I could see if the whole album was dedicated to something, but it wasn't. There was so much to listen to on that album, and that's what you want to take away from it. That's what you chose to take away from it. And to go out there 3 years later and try to make a an article with a title that seems like it's a cleanup job, and because even in the meat of the article, oh yeah, and they gave it 2.5 out of 5. But that's another thing. Whatever. That's opinion. And again, everybody has their opinion. But to actually pull out lines and twist them and turn them, and you know that they weren't coming out like that or coming across like that, that's just, it's something else. And the fans see that. Publications could pull that stuff back in the day when us fans and other journalists and grassroots hip-hop fans and audiences couldn't talk to each other. But now we can talk to each other, and we can pull this stuff up, and we can go through it, and we can decipher it as a group and as individuals and understand, you know what, Rolling Stone, on this situation, you're on some bullshit. Because that has nothing to do with anything. You tried to deter people from going out there, giving this album a shot, and honestly, you tried to stunt this whole movement before it even started. And once the movement continued to gain momentum and the people kept the movement going, now 3 years later, after 5 albums, you want to come back and act like you didn't say any of that stuff and act like that wasn't part of what you were going for. Gayle King was wrong. You know what I mean? Regardless of what people feel about Gayle King, whether you're a fan or not a fan, I think someone could step outside objectively and say, you know what, in that situation, Gayle King was wrong. It was inappropriate. That was Kobe's friend. It wasn't the best question to ask at that time. And to actually say that in song, that's not misogyny. That's just calling out stuff. Same thing with the Doja Cat thing. It was wrong. It's what it is. And so, I don't know, man. It's just my opinion here. I just wanted to go through the actual article because I know these publications have a way of trying to save face. But, you know, your words were your words, and your positions were your positions, and anybody with a clear brain and a clear mind understands where this was really coming from. But, again, I just thought that was important to put out there so it could be on record, and so that, you know, the fans could go out there and do their own research and understand where some of these publications are coming from when they actually, quote unquote, review certain artists. It's about the music. It's not about the individual per se. Whatever people feel about the individual and their whatever their personal interactions are, that's whatever. But when it's time to review an album, you're reviewing the music, and that's it. You know, no matter who that artist is. That artist hadn't committed no crime, or, you know, and that's on somebody else to make sure that's taken care of on that level. But from an album reviewing standpoint, that was terrible journalism to even bring up any of those things that weren't specifically brought up in the music. They used the whole review to derail. You want to talk about derailing Rolling Stone. You guys derailed the whole album review with some nonsense. But again, people can make their own decisions. Hope y'all loved the station head that we did last night, man. We got to do some more of those. I'm thinking we're going to do one for Benny's upcoming album. Obviously, when some big releases are coming, you guys can let us know, too, which albums y'all think that we should do them for. But hopefully we can get some more big releases in hip-hop. And I agree with what Coop said, man. You know, I don't want to harp on the fact that this year has been, quote-unquote, slower, because we do have Magic 2. We do have Michael from Killer Mike. We do have Jay Skeez's album. We do have Skyzoo's album. And we do have Love the Genius's album. And, yeah, I think those are some quality projects this year. But hopefully, you know, people can step up and keep this going, because we're only as strong as the music that comes out. Where's Coop at? Yeah, man, Coop's running around, man. Coop had to get some rest. He was beat last night, man. We out here working. So I kind of just did this in an impromptu type of thing. Coop and I, for the people that are in the room, we're going to review Magic 2 in the studio live on Monday at noon. So make sure y'all tune in for that. I mean, you know, we could have done a show today. I know everybody's running around and doing all that, but we want to give ourselves a weekend to really digest this Magic 2 and really go in on the whole series, because it's a lot of great things to take away from it. I think this one really shows that they're having fun together and they're continuously growing. And for me, as much as I loved Magic, the first one, Magic 2 kind of shows me some of the things that the first Magic was missing. They're continuously becoming more and more complete with the work that they're doing together. You know what? People keep talking about Dave East's album. I'm about to listen to Dave East's album now. And we do need to talk about Dave East's album on Monday as well. So it's going to be a full music show on Monday. We're going to break this whole thing down. Appreciate y'all stopping in, even, on this Friday. Enjoy your Friday. What else are y'all listening to as they do a show today? No, man, we'll do it Monday, man. We're going to give the music some time to actually digest, man. We're going to be in here on Monday at noon. Y'all definitely tune in live. If you're at work, still tune in live, man. And I think it's going to be a great music review. I'm looking forward to some of the other new music that's coming. I'm hearing that Drake's coming out with an album in the next couple of weeks, too. Do y'all think we need to do like a station head for a Drake release? Let me know what y'all thinking. And what are y'all thinking about Magic 2, by the way? I think that this is what I'll say. I think there's more singles on Magic 2 than there are on Magic 1. I think from a quality standpoint, they're very comparable. It just comes down to your taste. Black Milk dropped too. Love Black Milk, man. I think he's one of the most underrated in Detroit. He's an underrated producer, period. Him and Apollo Brown. But yeah, Babyface Ray, okay. We definitely gonna do that Benny listening party, I'm sure, the streaming party. And what else is coming this year? People saying, nah, for Drake, y'all don't want a Drake streaming party? Okay. We gotta listen to the people. Hopefully Cole is coming with something too. What did y'all think about the 50 Cent appearance on Magic 2 on Office Hours? Somebody said, what's gonna be a single? All right. This is my call. And again, I don't know nothing. I'm just going with my ear or whatever. I'm just putting it out there. I think a song like Office Hours could definitely have a video. Maybe not a single per se. I think Bokeem Woodbine, I think that's a single. I think Abracadabra's a possible single. I think that Irvin Magic Johnson was probably made for the NBA to play it, even though basketball season technically isn't coming until October, but it's a lot of basketball being played, period. I think that, I would love if Motion had a video. Now, some people are saying, well, not some people, I was talking to one of my folks, they were saying that they would love if Motion had a remix with Ghostface, Raekwon, a Method Man, or something like that. I just want to put that in the universe. But yeah, I love the sample on Black Magic. That shit is crazy to me. But yeah, Irvin Magic Johnson sounds like it'll probably be, an NBA type of, beat that's going to be played with the highlights, or, I can see that on TNT. Some people are saying that, I think I saw in the chat here, Irvin Magic Johnson's the worst song. In my opinion, yeah, it was the weakest song on the album. And when that's your weakest song, out of 10 records, I guess, 9 records per se, I think you're doing pretty good. I understand One Mic, One Gun was on there, probably for streaming purposes or whatnot. But if we're just taking that song out of the equation, because we know that was made way, way earlier, I think this album flows really, really well. And I do want to give all of us a weekend to really digest all of that. Oh, we're at 13,000. Appreciate that, Jonathan Coleman. Shout out to y'all, man. We're growing fast at this point, man. I love it. Make sure, like I said, you hit that like and subscribe. We're going to be here live, Coop and myself, on Monday. We're going to talk Magic 2. We also going to talk Dave East as well. It's going to be a full-out show, man. Appreciate y'all. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Love when great music comes through.